Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus 7-Day Challenge, and today we have 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure. Patch is one of the, obviously, 101 puppies that premiered in, of course, the classic original 101 Dalmatians. Um, he's set apart by his little black patch ear, and he more than any of the others, of course, likes to watch the TV. The Adventures of Thunderbolt, right here, their hero dog on the television. This is set in the mid 20th century, um, in England. I'm guessing that they're in London at this point, but the family's moving away to the country because it's a lot of dogs to keep in an urban setting. You know, even in the mid 20th century. Um, but of course, Patch gets left behind. At the same time, he also kind of wants to meet his hero who's come to town, and they're looking for somebody to possibly join the show. So I've pretty much given you the setup for the entire movie. By the way, this is from 2003. It's an hour and 17 minutes. It is from the era in which Disney decided to do a ton of sequels, direct to video mostly, if not all. Um, Sequels to all their classic films for some reason. Uh, Money. Uh, some of them hit better than others. We've talked about a number of these already. We've looked at Mulan, The Little Mermaid, and a few others. Some aren't really great, mostly in the animation department. At this point, of course, early in the early 2000s, Pixar is on the rise, in sort of dominating the animation world with a number of different things. In 2003, I think it was Finding Nemo was starting to come into its own. And digital projection and everything else, all that stuff was starting to pop up in theaters. But in the early 2000s, it felt like, hey, we needed to do sequels to Cinderella and, like I said, some of the all the other Renaissance era Disney films, Little Mermaid, and Beauty and the Beast, things like that. Of course, they included this, and was this necessary? Absolutely not. Were any of them necessary? No. Were most of them good? No. A lot, very, very few of them were good. This one is actually half decent. It keeps the. It's one of the few that keeps the style of animation. It stays consistent. Yes, it's done in modern with modern tools. It's not all. I don't think it's all hand drawn. And well, even if it is, it's the process is completely different. The way the characters move, all that is very different from the original. But they look like they stayed as close to the original style. The coloring, like if you watch this, the backgrounds are, or the coloring does not stay within the lines. Look at any of the buildings, the trees, and you'll see that colors just sort of shifted a little bit off of the framing of the lines, and that's something that was part of the original style of the original 101 Dalmatians, and they keep that. And so, comparing, like, say, Little Mermaid to Little Mermaid 2, the style and animation went down tremendously, and that's due to just the process and the money they spent on it, and the fact that it was just going to video. It was not going to theaters. In this, same thing, but I think they did a really good job in bridging the two eras and making it not look so garishly different than the original. So, in this sense, the animation is done really well. Again, it's a bit more modern, especially when you're dealing with the humans. The focus, when they did the animation, seems to be very much on making the puppies move really well. Cruella does not have the same feel to her as the original Cruella. Yes, she shows up in this. She sort of has a completely separate storyline until, of course, it sort of dovetails with Patch's little London adventure. Cruella is voiced by Suzanne Blakesley, and she sort of is dealing with withdrawal from her desire for spotted puppies. Um, she's she's uh, she's been forced to not be around furs. Like they've taken furs out of her life. The police, it's like a restraining order. I mean, her minions, they went to jail, but she sort of got, you know, uh, probation, I guess. I don't know. She's rich and powerful, I suppose. We'll just discover how powerful when we see the live action movie coming this summer. But she, her whole sequence is done mostly for comedy for the first part of the film, where she runs into an artist who does art that looks like spots on a dog, white, black spots on white, and she immediately falls in love with his artistic style, and she commissions him to do more art. And by the way, the artist is played by Martin Short in his always effervescent, calm, and then exploding kind of voice. He's he's in this, so he's one of I imagine they almost had to animate for his voice, for his expression, his expressiveness. I don't know. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. It works. And then there's, of course, we deal with the dogs and everything else. Patch sort of gets left behind. And by the way, when you have 101 puppies, the odds that you will find that you're missing any number of puppies on a regular basis, I mean, seriously. I mean, the dogs and the humans all try to count, but they lose count all the time. It'd be like a week until you realize that you only have like 87 puppies. And you're like, where did those other puppies go? I mean, I think it would be up to the other puppies to keep track of them going, hey, you know what? Where's Kevin? We saw him at lunch today. I haven't seen him since. And they would, tell their parents. But apparently nobody bothers to mention or notice that Patch is missing. But he decides this is his chance to go on an adventure to find where they're doing the auditions for the Thunderbolt action series starring his hero and his sidekick. The hero is Thunderbolt, voiced by Barry Bostwick, in a great, overly egotistical manner. He's an egomaniac, this Thunderbolt, and he just is honestly not that bright. He just knows his world, and he knows it all revolves around him. And his sidekick is voiced by Jason Alexander. You'll know him from Seinfeld. He was George. His name's Lightning. He's kind of the comic relief. He's kind of goofy. He saves the boy while Thunderbolt fights the villain. That kind of thing. They're Lassie. If Lassie was a lot more action oriented, but yeah, anyway. Patch doesn't understand that this is just acting, even though he has every episode memorized of all of Thunderbolt's adventures. He goes to try to audition. Doesn't really go that well. You can kind of figure that out. But and this is as far as I'm going to go with the story, so you can watch it yourself if you choose to. Lightning finds out that they're going to kill off Thunderbolt in the next episode, and Thunderbolt panics and tries to figure out a way to keep his star shining and keep his job. He knows that he's not going to actually be killed off, but his character will be on the show. And what will happen then? He can't live without being a star. Patch teams up with him, and they try to work out a way to save his career. So, in all of that, of course, they discover Patch. They eventually discover Patch is missing, but also at the same time, Cruella realizes it too, and everything kind of comes together in a big, energetic race against time. Lots of jumping and crashing. There's a car chase involving the dogs on a London bus, a double-decker. So yeah, it's all sorts of big, wild fun. It's not specifically kid-oriented. It's not meant to just focus just for kids. It's not dumbed down for kids. Let's just say that there's lots of good humor that adults will appreciate. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a bad one at all. It's actually kind of fun, and I kind of get the feeling that Bolt the other Disney animated film that came out a few years later might have had a few inspirations. Might have been slightly inspired by this one. Not, I mean, obviously the story is not one to one. It's a totally different thing. Bold as a Road movie. This is very much an adventure in London, one place, and but there's no big lessons to learn. They're not. I mean, you learn that TV's not real. The TV characters are not real. But we also learned that, hey, you know what? There's nobody like, oh, family. There's no big emotional things like that. It's just, hey, you know what? That was crazy, and thank God you saved our son. Oh, your son saved me, kind of thing. It's that kind of stuff. It's, you know, it's good fun. It's nothing gonna blow your mind. But it could be. There are much worse sequels to the Disney classics than this one, and I don't know if that's high praise, but it's not bad. So give it a shot. If you love the 101 Dalmatians and kids love puppies and you love puppies, it won't hurt you to watch this. But yeah, don't expect your life to be changed. But anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
522.
522. All right. Going from 3 to 522. Ooh, overshot it. 522. I was hoping we'd get to the movie before we got to the series, but not going to happen. But this is a kind of an underrated cult classic. It's a series based on a Disney film. But we'll have to watch a few episodes and see how it goes. Probably 1, 2, 3. We'll see. But we're going to be watching The Emperor's New School. The Emperor's New School is a series based on The Emperor's New Groove. So yeah, let's check that out. The Emperor's New School on the Disney Plus 70 Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow.